Level 1. The copy. The first time you hold a fake next to a real one, you can't tell the difference. Same stitching, same weight, same zipper pull. The logo sits in the exact same spot. You flip them both over and check the label, and even the label is right. The only difference is the price. One costs $400. The other cost you $6. That's the moment the math starts making sense. And once the math makes sense, you never look at a price tag the same way again. You start in your apartment. A single shipment. 2 duffel bags of fake designer handbags from a factory overseas that you found through a contact who knows a contact. The bags arrive wrapped in plastic, no logos, no labels, no tags. Just blank product. Your job is to make them real. You set up a heat press on your kitchen table. You peel off the factory shipping labels and apply the brand logos yourself. One by one. Press, hold, peel. The logo bonds to the leather, and it looks like it was born there. You add the tags. You add the dust covers. You slide each bag into a branded dust bag, and the transformation is complete. $6 bag. $400 presentation. The copy is ready. You line them up on your bed and take a step back and look at them. 12 bags. 12 copies that could sit in a store window and nobody would blink. You pick one up and hold it the way a customer would, and the weight is right. The hardware is cold. The zipper runs smooth. You could walk into a department store with this bag on your arm, and the salespeople would compliment it. That's the craft, not the bag itself. The belief. You're not selling leather and thread. You're selling the feeling that $400 gives, at a price that doesn't hurt. Rico is the one who sells them. You've known him since before this. He could sell anything to anyone. He opens the trunk of his car in a strip mall parking lot on a Saturday morning and lays the bags on a blanket on the asphalt. $40 each. Cash only. A woman picks one up and runs her thumb along the stitching and asks if it's real. Rico smiles and says it's the same factory. She buys 2. He sells 14 bags in 3 hours. $560. The bags cost you $84 total. Rico doesn't just sell. He performs. He holds the bag up to the sunlight so the customer can see the grain. He unzips it and shows the lining. He points out the serial number tag inside and says it's a limited run. It isn't. There is no limited run. There's a factory that stamps out 1,000 of these a week and ships them across the ocean in plastic wrap. But Rico makes every buyer feel like they found something rare. That's his gift. Dree helps you sort the next batch. She's detail-oriented in a way you'll never be. She checks every zipper, every stitch, every logo placement. She catches the ones that are obviously wrong. Crooked logos. Cheap hardware. Stitching that unravels when you tug it. Those go in the reject pile. The good ones go to Rico. Quality control. That's what Dree does. She makes sure the copies are good enough to pass. She sets up a system. Tags for every item. Green tag means inspected and approved. Red tag means rejected. No tag means nobody's touched it yet. It's simple. It works. And as long as the system holds, nothing goes out that shouldn't. The 3 of you fall into a rhythm. You source and press. Dree inspects and stores. Rico sells and collects. The money splits 3 ways every Saturday night in the warehouse parking lot. Cash in envelopes. No receipts. No records. No bank accounts. Just 3 envelopes and a handshake, and you do it all again the next week. It feels like a job. A real job with a real schedule and real coworkers. Except the product is fake. That's the only part that's fake. Everything else about the operation is as real as any business you've ever seen. You take your cut. Rico takes his. Dree takes hers. 3 people, 1 trunk, a parking lot, and a blanket. The copy goes out. The cash comes back. And nobody asks where the bag was made, because at $40, nobody wants to know. Level 2. The table. The trunk isn't enough. The bags sell faster than you can press logos onto them. Rico moves to flea markets. A folding table with a rack behind it. Bags hanging in rows. Watches displayed under glass. Sunglasses fanned out on velvet. It looks like a real store. That's the point. He has regulars now. People who come back every Saturday for the new shipment. They text him during the week asking what's coming. He saves the best pieces for the ones who tip. He runs 2 tables. Then 3. He hires a kid to watch one while he works the others. The flea market is his kingdom, and every table is a throne. The customers surprise you. They're not who you expected. They're not people who can't afford the real thing. They're people who can afford it and choose not to. Lawyers, teachers, A woman who drives a car that costs more than your warehouse rent picks up a bag that costs $35, and she knows it's fake, and she doesn't care. She cares about the look, the feel, the weight on her shoulder when she walks into a room. The copy gives her that. The $400 stays in her wallet. Rico figured this out before you did. He doesn't sell to people who need fakes. He sells to people who want them. That's a bigger market than you ever imagined. Your apartment can't hold the volume anymore. You rent warehouse space. A unit in an industrial park with a rolling door and bad lighting. You set up the relabeling station. Heat presses, brand tags, dust covers, retail-style packaging. Every fake gets repackaged to look like it was unboxed from a boutique, not pulled from a shipping container. The presentation is half the product. A bag in plastic wrap looks fake. The same bag in a dust cover inside a branded box looks like a gift. You and Dree work the warehouse together. You press and she inspects. The rhythm is fast now. Press, hold, peel, hand it over. Dree checks the logo, checks the stitch, tags it green, stacks it on the shelf. Red tags go in a box in the corner. You ship the rejects back or sell them at a steeper discount to a different buyer who doesn't care about quality. Nothing is wasted. Every copy finds a home. Dree runs the storage now. Multiple units. One for bags, one for watches, one for shoes and accessories. She keeps inventory counts. She inspects every item before it goes to Rico. She keeps a reject rate. Anything over 15%, and she tells you to switch factories. She's the reason your fakes are better than everyone else's fakes. She's the quality the customer never sees and the standard Rico never has to worry about. The money changes things. You upgrade the warehouse. Better presses. Better packaging materials. You buy a van to move product between the storage units and Rico's tables. Saturday mornings you load the van before dawn, and Rico unloads it at the flea market while the other vendors are still setting up their card tables. By the time the market opens, his tables look like a pop-up boutique. That's the advantage. Your copies don't just look real. They look expensive, and people will pay more for something that looks like it should cost more. And Rico starts asking about electronics. Phone cases, earbuds, chargers. The margins are double what bags make. You hesitate. Dree says the quality on electronics is harder to control. A bad zipper is ugly. A bad charger is dangerous. Rico says the customers don't care. You let him try a small batch. Earbuds. 20 units. He sells them all in a day and comes back grinning and asks for 100. That's the crack in the wall. You just don't know it yet. Level 3. The container. Small shipments aren't enough anymore. You go direct to the factory. Not through contacts. Direct. A video call, a wire transfer, and a purchase order for a full shipping container. 20,000 units. Bags, watches, shoes, belts, sunglasses, phone cases, earbuds. One container. Your cost is $22,000. Street value through Rico's network is over $300,000. The container arrives at the port. You forge the customs invoices. The paperwork says household goods, generic furniture, plastic storage bins, anything that explains the weight without explaining the contents. You meet the truck at the dock, sign for the delivery with a name that isn't yours on paperwork that describes a container that doesn't exist, and drive it to the warehouse yourself. 3 days. That's how long it takes you and Dree to unpack and repackage 20,000 units. Heat presses running 14 hours a day. Brand logos going onto bags that were made in a factory with no brand name at all. Dree inspects while you press. Reject pile growing in the corner. Good pile growing faster. Tags, dust covers, boxes, shrink wrap. By the end, your hands are raw from the heat press, and every surface in the warehouse is covered in merchandise that looks like it belongs in a department store. You start sleeping at the warehouse. A cot in the corner, the heat press still warm beside you. Dree brings food. You eat between batches. The rhythm is press, inspect, tag, stack. 20,000 units. 3 days. And when it's done, the warehouse looks like a distribution center for a brand that never authorized a single piece. You're not just selling to Rico anymore. You're wholesaling to other sellers. Guys with their own flea market tables, their own parking lots, their own pop-up shops in cities you've never been to. They come to Dree's storage units, pick their orders, pay cash, and leave. You never see the end customer anymore. You just see the containers come in and the cash go out. Rico pushes further. He's been selling fake electronics for months now, and the complaints are zero and the margins are triple. So he starts sourcing products you never approved. Fake car accessories, fake phone batteries, fake children's products, car seats, strollers, things that aren't fashion statements, things that people's lives depend on. You tell him to stop. He shows you the numbers. A fake designer bag makes you $20 profit. A fake car seat makes you $60. A fake stroller makes you $80. He's tripled his weekly take in a month. He says nobody checks. He says the products look identical. He says the factories overseas make them on the same assembly lines as the real ones. He's wrong about that last part, but you don't know it yet, and you don't push hard enough to find out. Dree finds out, and she's angry. Not about the ethics. About the process. She tells you Rico is pulling stock directly from the warehouse and selling it without inspection. Products she's never seen, never checked, never approved. The quality control chain that kept your operation clean is broken because Rico decided he doesn't need it. You argue about it. The three of you, in the warehouse, surrounded by 20,000 copies of things that don't belong to you. Rico says you're being soft. Dree says she can't guarantee what she hasn't touched. You stand between them and you do nothing. You don't shut it down. You don't cut Rico off. You don't lock the warehouse. Because the money is coming in faster than it ever has, and shutting down the machine means shutting down the money, and you're not ready to do that. The copies keep going out, and you stop asking what's in them. Level 4. The raid. It collapses from 2 directions at once. Customs flags your next container. The invoices don't match. Household goods don't weigh what your container weighs. They open it at the port. 22,000 units of counterfeit merchandise. Bags with logos that don't belong to you. Watches with names you didn't earn. The container is seized. The customs trail leads to the dock receipt you signed with your own hand, and the dock receipt leads to the warehouse. And the warehouse is full of everything they need. And 2 weeks before the raid, a woman bought a children's car seat from one of Rico's downstream sellers at a weekend pop-up. A car seat that came from your container, that was stored in Dree's unit, that Rico pulled without inspection and pushed through his network. The woman put the car seat in a shopping cart at a parking lot, and the buckle snapped. The child wasn't in a car. The child was in the cart. The buckle just broke. Cheap metal. Bad casting. A copy of a buckle that was supposed to hold. The woman reported the product. The brand name on the car seat was real. The brand said they didn't make that model. And the trail from that car seat, through the seller, through Rico's network, through Dree's storage unit, led to the same warehouse the customs trail led to. You're arrested at the warehouse on a Tuesday morning. Dree is arrested at the storage unit an hour later, standing next to inventory she inspected and inventory she never saw. Rico is arrested at a flea market table on a Saturday morning with $6,000 of fake merchandise laid out in front of him. Customers still reaching for their wallets when the agents walk up. Trafficking in counterfeit goods. Customs fraud. Conspiracy. The seized inventory fills a federal evidence room. The total estimated street value of everything you imported across the life of the operation is over $2 million. At sentencing, you learn the thing that stays with you. Not the fine. Not the years. The car seat. A copy of a product designed to protect a child. You made it in a factory that copied everything except the part that mattered. The buckle. The one piece that needed to work. And it didn't. Because it was a copy, and copies don't have standards. They have margins. The child was fine. The buckle broke in a cart, not a crash. But you'll think about what would have happened if it had been a crash for a lot longer than you'll think about the bags. Rico never apologized. He said the margins were worth it. Dree said she told you. She did. You heard her, and you didn't listen because the containers kept coming and the cash kept flowing, and shutting it down felt like something you could do tomorrow. Tomorrow came. It came with a warrant. Dree took a plea. She cooperated. She showed them the storage units, the inventory system, the green tags, and the red tags. She showed them how the system worked and where it broke. Where it broke was Rico. Where it broke was you not stopping him. She got less time because she told the truth about a system she built to prevent exactly what happened. Rico fought the charges. He lost. He sat in the courtroom and said he was just selling bags. The prosecutor put the car seat buckle on the table and asked him who inspected it. He didn't have an answer because the answer was nobody. You serve your years. When you get out, you get a job at a retail store. A real one. You stock real shelves with real products. Every tag is authentic. Every price is the real price. Every label was put there by the company that made the thing. You fold a shirt and place it on a shelf, and there is nothing fake about it. The shirt costs $40, and it's worth $40, and nobody is pretending it's anything else. You ring up customers and hand them bags, and the bags are real. And the receipts are real, and the transaction is exactly what it looks like. There's no backroom, no heat press, no reject pile, no green tags. Just a store that sells what it says it sells. And you can't stop noticing. Everywhere you go, you see the copies. The stitching that's slightly off. The zipper pull that weighs too little. The logo placement that's a millimeter too low. You see it on people on the street. In restaurants. In the store where you work. You trained your eyes to tell the difference between real and fake, and you can never untrain them. You fold another shirt. It's real. It costs $40, and it's worth $40, and nobody is pretending it's anything else. But across the street, there's a guy with a table and a rack and a blanket on the asphalt. Bags hanging in a row. Watches under glass. You recognize the setup because you built it. The copy is still out there. It always will be. You just can't sell it anymore. The copy was always cheaper. The cost was always real.